Captain Alara Monroe stood at the edge of the Resolute Dawn's bridge, watching the stars drift by through the large glass window. Her hands were behind her back, her face combut inside. Her heart felt heavy. This was humanity's first step into a real galactic battle. Every ship in the human fleet had been called to support the United Alliance, and yet, as Alara watched the calm black sky, all she could think about was the one person who wasn't there. Julie and he had been her closest friend back on Earth. They studied together in the academy, trained in simulations late into the night, and dreamed of serving in space together. Lara had always imagined that when the day came, the day they flew into the stars, it would be side by side. But Julian had transferred to another command 2 years ago. He wanted to serve in engineering. Working on a project called Arclight was important, and Alara had encouraged him. Still, the distance hurt more than she ever admitted. Now, with a war raging across hundreds of systems, she didn't even know where he was. "Captain," her second officer said, breaking the silence, "the fleet is arriving in formation. The Alliance Command awaits our confirmation." Alara nodded. "Send it. Position the Resolute Dawn near the command ring." The officer obeyed, but Alara's mind drifted again. She remembered the last time she and Julian spoke in person. They were standing on a balcony in the Academy garden. She had laughed at something she said, then grew quiet. "You think we'll still talk once we're up there?" he had asked. She had smiled. "Of course we'll be in the same stars." But they hadn't talked much after that. Messages were short, calls were rare. And now, she couldn't even send one because she didn't know if he was okay that night. Alara sat in her private quarters. She held a small photo in her hand. It was the two of them, arms around each other, laughing like nothing could ever go wrong. The war hadn't taken Julian from her, but it had pulled them apart. She opened the message log, hovered over his name. The send button blinked softly. What? Would she say, "Hi, Julian. I miss you. I'm scared. I wish you were here"? No, that felt too open, too vulnerable. She closed the log without sending anything. Outside her window, alien ships moved in quiet patterns. The stars looked the same as they did back home, but nothing felt familiar. The next morning, the synchronizer signal arrived, pulsed through the ship's systems, syncing every human vessel with the Alliance fleet. A symbol appeared on her screen. Alara froze. Arclight command, signal locked. Julian's project, her breath caught. He was out there. The ship powering this whole coordination network, the Arclight, was active. It was part of this mission that meant it might be too. She stood quickly, heart pounding. She needed to find a way to send a message. Something simple. Something real. She walked down to the communications deck and sat at a quiet terminal. She typed a few words, deleted them, then typed again. Finally, she stopped trying to be perfect. She just wrote what she felt, too. Julian, Arclight Engineering. Crew from Alara, Resolute Dawn Command. Hey, saw the Arclight signal today. I thought of you. I hope you're safe. I miss having you to talk to. Everything feels big and strange out here. But knowing you're out there somewhere, it gives me strength. Maybe we can still meet in these stars. Elarashi pressed send. For the first time in weeks, her shoulders relaxed. She didn't know if he'd see it. She didn't know if he'd answer, but she had reached out. She had not let the distance win. That evening, a small alert appeared. On her screen, one new message. Her heart jumped. From Julian Arclatelera? I didn't know if I should write. I've been thinking about you too. It's hard out here, busy, cold sometimes. But seeing your name made everything feel warmer. We're sinking the whole fleet from this end. I help keep the signal steady. It's not the same as serving beside you. But maybe in a way, we're still doing this together. Let's not drift apart again. One signal at a time, we can stay close. I'm glad you wrote. Julian Alara smiled. A tear rolled down her cheek. Not from sadness this time, but from hope. The galaxy was huge. The battle ahead would be hard. But even in the quiet cold of space, she had found a signal, a connection. And that was enough to keep going. Soren Malik sat alone at his small desk inside the engineering bay of the Arclight, the most important ship in the human fleet. Around him, bright cables hummed softly, and glowing screens showed wave after wave of data pulses. He stared at the blinking lights, pretending to read. But in truth, he wasn't thinking about work. He was thinking about his sister, Liana. She had moved to Mars Station 2 years ago, chasing her dream to become a xenobotanist. Soren had supported her. He even helped her pack. But once she left, everything between them started to fade. Messages came less often. Video calls dropped to once a month. Now, they hadn't spoken in almost 6 weeks, and even though the Arclight was busy helping lead the biggest fleet coordination in history, Soren couldn't stop thinking about her. Liana always believed in him. When they were younger, she used to sneak into his room and watch him take apart old machines. "You're going to fix the stars one day," she'd say, smiling. But now, when Soren looked out at those stars from the Arclight's long view panel, he didn't feel powerful. He felt small. The universe was too big, and he was only one person among millions. He wanted to talk to her. He wanted to ask her if she still believed in him, but he didn't know what to say anymore that afternoon. He ran diagnostics on the TIC synchronizer grid system that let the entire human and alien fleet move in perfect time. His job was to monitor a single relay, a tiny pulse node buried deep inside the control system. It was simple work, but important. If even one node failed, ships could fall out of sync. The screen blinked. Minor delay. Feedback echo detected. Soren leaned forward, just a few milliseconds off. It's nothing serious. He tapped a few buttons and marked the signal non-critical. But his thoughts drifted again to the last message from Liana. "I found a new kind of spore. It glows blue. Under starlight, reminds me of your old glow circuits. Hope you're doing okay." That was all she said. He had read it again and again, trying to find more in the short words. He hadn't replied. Why? He didn't even know. Maybe he didn't want to sound foolish. Maybe he was afraid she had moved on, that she didn't think about him anymore. But deep down, he knew he had let the silence grow too long. Later that night, the ship was quiet. The crew had shifted to standby. Outside, the synchronized fleet moved like a dance across space, hundreds of ships in perfect harmony. Thanks to the Arclight's pulse, Soren walked to the observation deck. He placed his hands on the glass and looked out. He thought about the glow spores Liana had found. It's about how she used to cheer when one of his circuits lit up. It's about how she always clapped when he fixed things no one else could fix. He missed that. He missed her finally. He sat at a private message station. The screen flickered to life. He hesitated, fingers hovering above the keyboard. What could he say that didn't feel awkward? Too late? He closed his eyes and breathed slowly. Then, typed 2. Liana Malik, Mars Station Botanical Lab from Soren Malik, Arclight Engineering Bay. I've been thinking about your message, about the glowing spore. I guess I missed the way we used to light up rooms too. Things are fast out here. Important. Heavy. But I never stopped being your brother. Hope we're still close, even if we don't talk much. I'd like to fix that, maybe. I can fix more than machines. Soren, he sent the message. No fanfare. No explosion of light. Just a soft ping, and it was gone. But inside his heart, something shifted. A weight lifted. He'd done the hardest thing. He reached out. 2 hours later, while he was checking. The feedback loop again. A new alert popped up. New message. From Liana Malika's heart jumped. He opened it. Hey, little brother. Read your message 3 times before I answered. Not because I didn't want to, but because it made me cry a little. Of course we're still close. I never stopped believing in you. You're literally sinking galaxies now. Let's not wait so long again. I've got more glowing spores to show you. I want to hear all about how you fixed the stars. Love, Liana. Soren smiled, sat back in his chair, blinking away tears. Not from sadness, but from hope. Maybe humans didn't always say the right things. Maybe they made mistakes. But they always tried to fix what mattered. And sometimes, the simplest signals, just a few honest words, could reconnect what seemed lost. Lieutenant Adira Wells sat inside the tactical room of the Silver Horizon, a mid-tier human cruiser in the outer ring of the fleet. Around her, officers moved quickly between control panels, preparing for the synchronized assault. The ship buzzed, with quiet energy, but Adira couldn't focus. Her mind kept drifting back to someone far away, her father. Commander Eli Wells, stationed on a deep space research colony named Epsilon 9. It was a lonely, cold place surrounded by gravitational storms and frozen moons. Her father had always loved the quiet of deep space. Adira had loved it too once. But then she left. She joined the fleet. She didn't want to stay in one place. She wanted to see the stars make a difference. And in doing that, she left her father behind. They used to talk often. Now they barely exchanged a message every month. She didn't even remember the last time she saw his face on a call. The command screen lit up. The entire fleet was waiting for the next signal from the Arclight synchronizer. Adira watched the timer tick down. TMI knows 60 seconds. To full pulse sync, this was the moment they had trained 4 dozens of species moving as one. Thanks to the human-designed grid, it was a beautiful thing, a sign of unity, but Adira's heart felt divided. Her father had always said, "Never let the mission become more important than the people who believe in you." She thought she understood. But now, she wondered, had she made the wrong choice by not writing back and letting the silence grow? "Lieutenant," the captain said, "your console's showing a timing error. Double-check it." Adira looked. Down there, it was a single command in yellow text. "Manual override." "Hold position," she frowned. That wasn't supposed to be active. The pulse was meant to move every ship in harmony. Who had added a manual hold? She checked the logs. The command was entered 7 days ago by her, by her during a test run. It had been meant for simulations only. Somehow it had never been erased. The code was tiny, simple, barely noticeable. But now it had gone live. And in a synchronized system, even one offbeat signal could echo across thousands of ships. Panic rushed through her chest. "Captain," she said quickly, "I think we have a leftover command from a past test. It's nothing dangerous, but... The pulse sent, and her voice was too late. Across space, 3 fleets paused. Their engines held for just a breath longer than the others. Their positions slipped by only a few degrees to the human eye. It was nothing. But in the vast language of stars and gravity, it was a disharmony. The communications screen began flashing. Ships were asking for clarification. Some sectors fell. Silent. Reports of distorted pulse echoes filled the data logs. Adira's fingers flew over her keys, trying to send corrections, but it was done. The mistake had traveled faster than her fix. She wanted to disappear. She wanted to go back in time and delete that test command, but she couldn't. She stood up, face pale. "Captain, I made the mistake. It was my command from the last simulation. It shouldn't have gone live. I'm so sorry." The captain looked at her for a long time. But instead of yelling, she said softly, "Then you'll help fix it." "Because that's what we do, Lieutenant." Adira nodded slowly. Her hands trembled. She didn't cry. Later that night, she sat alone in her quarters. The stars outside looked still. But she knew the fleet was busy, now adjusting, correcting. Working to stabilize the synchronizer, she stared at the old message log. There, the top, was her father's last message. "Hope the stars are being kind to you, Adira. Things are quiet here. Let me know if you ever want to talk. I'm always here." She never replied. She always thought there would be time. But time could change in a blink. She opened a new message window, too. "Commander. Eli Wells, Epsilon 9 research post from LT. Adira Wells, Silver Horizon Dad. I made a mistake today. A real one. It caused trouble, but I told the truth. I owned it, and now I'm helping fix it. I just wanted to tell you that. I remember your words. About people. About showing up. I'm sorry for being distant. You always reached out. I didn't. Reach back. I want to change that." Love Adirash sent the message and sat still, breathing slowly. The stars didn't answer. System didn't stop spinning. But in her heart, something finally started to heal. Humans made mistakes. Big ones. but they also made peace, tried again. That was their power. That was their hope. Kale Oren sat in the communications room of a distant Alliance science ship, the Veritas Ray, orbiting the edge of a shattered moon. It was quiet, too quiet. No new orders, no updates from the fleet, no familiar signals. The synchronizer grid had gone strange. Time signals were delayed or frozen. Some sectors were completely silent. Ships waited in stillness, not knowing what had happened. Kale checked the console again. Still nothing. The silence wasn't just in the stars. It was also in his heart. He leaned back in his chair and looked at a small photo taped to the side of his screen. Aaliyah. She used to sit beside him on this very ship. She was his closest friend and maybe more, if he had ever found the courage to say something. They shared coffee every morning, laughed about broken transmitters, dreamed of exploring new galaxies. Then, 6 months ago, Aaliyah was transferred to a science team on the far side of the Alliance. She smiled when she told him, but her eyes looked sad. She asked him to write often. At first he did, but slowly the messages became short, then rare, then silent. Kale rubbed his eyes. He wasn't good with words. He didn't know how to say he missed her without sounding awkward. And now, with the synchronizer failing, even sending a simple message across the stars was risky. Still, he missed her more than ever. He kept wondering what she'd say if she were here. She always made him feel calmer, braver. He reached for the comms terminal, then paused. What would he even write? Hi, I miss you. It felt small in such a big galaxy, but not trying felt even smaller. He pulled up the last message she had sent. Kale. The stars here are wide and strange. I hope you're still fixing signals and forgetting your tea on the console. Miss talking to you. Let me know if you ever want to just talk. I'm here. Yeah, that was 43 days ago. He hadn't answered. Why hadn't he? A soft tone pulled him back. The console lit up new signal detected. But it was garbled, distorted. The time codes didn't match. He tried to adjust the filters. Static filled the speakers. Then, just for a moment, he heard a voice. Aaliyah's voice. Kale. If this gets through, I hope. Okay. And then silence. His heart pounded. She was out there. She had sent a message through the broken system. She was trying to reach him even through the static, even through the chaos. He stood up, heart racing. The fleet's network might be cracked, but it wasn't gone. She could reach out, so could he, even if it failed, even if she'd never heard it. He had to try, because humans didn't give up. They reached out, even when the sky was broken. He quickly opened a local signal channel, bypassing the synchronizer. It would take longer to reach her, maybe days, maybe more. But sometimes hope traveled slower than light, too. Aaliyah Vendeep Alliance survey team from Kale Oren Veritas. Rehalia, I heard your voice. For just a second, and it made the silence feel less cold. I'm still here. I still forget my tea. I still fix broken signals. I wish I had answered sooner. I didn't know what to say. But I'm saying it now. I miss you. I want to talk. About anything. Everything. Even if the signals are broken, I'll keep trying. Because you're worth reaching for. Kale He pressed send. The message uploaded slowly, hopping through old backup relays. Bypassing the damaged grid. Kale sat back and watched the stars. He didn't know if the message would arrive, but he felt lighter. Not because the galaxy was fixed, but because he was. Trying to fix something he still believed in. 2 days passed. The ship stayed in orbit, still waiting for orders. Kale stayed by the console. Then late one quiet evening, blinking light appeared. New message. From Aaliyah Ven. He opened it with. Shaking hands. Kale, your message came through fuzzy. Late, but perfect. You always knew how to make broken things work, even feelings. I miss you too. Let's not let the silence win again. Even if the stars break, I'll keep answering. Keep forgetting your tea. I'll pretend I'm still there, handing you a new cup. Aaliyah. Kale laughed softly. For the first time in weeks, he smiled. Across a galaxy torn by silence and error, a single human connection held strong. Because when things go quiet, humans don't fade. They reach out. Mira Chen sat at the edge of the cargo bay door, her feet dangling over the platform as the repair ship Wayfarer hovered near a dying star. Below her, gravity bent and flickered. Time moved strangely in this sector, slow in some places too, fast in others. It had been weeks since the synchronizer grid failed, and now Mira was part of the undo teams groups of human volunteers, sent one system at a time to fix the pulse mistakes by hand. The machines had caused the problem, but humans would fix it step by step. Still, Myra wasn't thinking about the grid. She was thinking about her younger brother. Theo used to follow her everywhere when they were kids. He'd sit next to her when she repaired old drones, asking endless questions. He believed she could fix anything, but 2 years ago, Theo moved to a small education outpost near a planet called Varelia. He wanted to become a teacher. Mira had been proud, but also scared. She was scared that if she let him go, they'd grow apart. They said they'd call every week, but the calls grew less often, and not at all. And now with the synchronizer broken, communication to his sector was almost impossible. Mira sighed. She held a tiny tool in her hand and stared at the stars glow. Time here was unstable. Ships were frozen mid-warp. Messages looped endlessly, and yet she still checked the console every day for a signal from Theo. None came. Her captain called gently. "The signal repeater is ready. You're the best one to upload the correction code. Take the pod and go when you're ready." Mira nodded. She knew the process. She had done it 12 times already. Fly into the heart of the sector. Reset the pulse manually. Anchor time again. But today felt different. Heavy, she floated into the small pod, sealed the hatch, and launched toward the relay satellite. The darkness of space wrapped around her like a blanket as she neared the satellite. Her heart thudded dead. There, floating beside, it was a beacon. A small, round message buoy, old and dusty, unlinked from the system. Her console lit up. A message was stored inside. From Theo Chen, Varelia outpost date, sent 31 days ago. Mira gasped. The buoy must have drifted out of sync when the grid collapsed. And now it was here right in front of her. With trembling hands, she opened it. "Hey, Mira. I don't know if this will reach you. The comms are down. Nothing's working right. But I wanted to try. I miss you. I keep thinking about when we used to fix old robots in Dad's garage. You always said everything could be repaired every time. I hope you're okay. I hope you haven't forgotten about me. I still believe in you." Theo, tears rose in Mira's eyes. He hadn't forgotten her. He had reached out through broken space, across silence. He still believed. Her hand shook as she typed her reply, attaching it to the relay once the fix was complete. To Theo Chen, Varelia outpost from Mira Chen, Wayfarer, undo team Theo. I found your message. You have no idea what it meant to me. I never forgot. I was just afraid you had. You were right, I still fix things. And now I'm trying to fix something huge. But I want to fix us too. We'll talk again soon, I promise. Hold on. I'm on my way. Myratha pulse reset activated. The stars blinked. Time slowed. Ships resumed motion. In that moment, Mira felt something deep and powerful. Hope. Hours later, back aboard the Wayfarer, she stared at the stars. The team cheered as the system came back online, but Myra sat quietly. Holding Theo's message in her hands, she didn't feel far from him anymore. She felt like she was walking back toward him, one step, one repair, one signal at a time. Humans weren't perfect. They got distant. They let silence grow. They made mistakes. But what made them special wasn't perfection. It was that they always came back. They reached through space, and they undid what they broke not with power. Care. Dr. Kieran Voss sat quietly in the observation room of the research ship Nightingale, staring at a planet below. The planet was covered in snow and ice, its atmosphere still thin, its sun barely glowing through the frozen clouds. It had been abandoned for over a century, but now, because of the synchronizer's failure, everything had changed. The collapsed signals and broken timing pulses had shifted orbital patterns. slowed some systems, and even, by mistake, unlocked something no one expected. A signal had been discovered on this planet, a beacon from a lost civilization. Kieran had studied ancient species his whole life, but this message, this one was different. It wasn't a distress call. It was a message of gratitude. One simple sentence. We are awake again. The humans saved us by accident. Thank you. It made Kieran think of his own story, not with aliens or old technology, but with his daughter Amira. Amira had moved to another colony 5 years ago. She wanted to be a writer, to live on a quiet world and tell stories about peace and kindness. Kieran had stayed behind. He believed in science, in numbers. He told himself they were just different people. But deep down, he missed her every day. He never said the words. He never sent the message. He thought he still had time. Now, with everything that had happened, the failed grid, the silence, the strange changes in time, he wasn't so sure. He stood and walked slowly to the signal panel. The alien message replayed again. The humans saved us by accident. Kieran smiled softly. He whispered to himself, we're always trying to help heathen when we don't mean to. He remembered Amira's last letter. She wrote, I know you don't believe in fairy tales, Dad, but I still believe in people. I believe in you. I just wish we talked more. He had read it many times, but he never answered. Now, sitting here in the middle of a galactic mistake, Kieran finally saw the truth. Sometimes, it's the errors, the missed signals, the lost time. Their silence still led to something beautiful. He opened a new message screen, too. Amira Voss, Liray Colony from Dr. Kieran Voss, Research Vessel Nightingale Amira. I read your letter again today. I should have answered long ago. I kept thinking I had time. I thought if I stayed quiet, maybe you'd understand what I couldn't say. But silence doesn't show love. I don't want you to wonder anymore. I miss you. I'm proud of you. A whole alien race thanked us today for an error we made. Woke them from sleep. I guess even our mistakes can carry hope. Maybe this is mine. Love, Dad. He hit send. The message bounced slowly through the remaining working relays. The system wasn't perfect yet, but enough of it had recovered to let words reach across stars again. The next morning, as Kieran walked past the lab station, a soft alert blinked. One new message. From Amira Voss, he opened it with careful fingers. Dad, I cried when I read your message. Not because I was sad, because I've been waiting for it for a long time. I always hoped you'd find the words. You were never a bad father, just a quiet one. But I always knew you cared, and now I know you're still listening. Maybe we both made mistakes. But if even broken signals can wake up a frozen planet, then we can wake up too. I love you. Amirakian sat still for a long time, not thinking, not planning, just feeling. He didn't need to understand every piece of data, every timeline, every broken system. He had sent a signal, and it had come back. Later that day, he gave a short speech to the Alliance Science Council. Sharing the message from the awakened species, he ended by saying, humans are not perfect. We break things, sometimes even by mistake, but we care deeply. We try again. Even our errors carry kindness. Even our silence can end in warmth, and maybe that's what makes us human. The room went quiet, then dash applause. The stars outside remained the same, cold, vast, endless. But inside, Kieran felt something new. Not just pride, connection, because no matter how far someone moves away, we choose to reach out. Even through broken time, there is always hope. Elara Monroe stood once again on the bridge of the Resolute Dawn. But this time, the galaxy outside her window looked different. It was calmer, brighter, healing. The battle was over. The broken synchronizer grid was no longer in use. In its place was something new, something better. It was called the harmonic weave. This time, no machine controlled it alone. It was a network built by all species, maintained by teams from different worlds. No single race gave orders. No fleet moved without understanding. Everything worked in rhythm, not by force, but by trust. And somehow, in all of that, Ilara still felt something missing. Julian, she hadn't heard from him since his last message, weeks ago. He was still on the Arclight, helping transfer systems into the new network. His job was vital, everyone said so. But she missed him. She thought of his laugh, his steady words, the way he always saw light even in the darkest places. She had sent him a message 3 days ago, just a short one. Still thinking about you? Still here? Hope we talk again soon. No reply yet. And though she tried to stay strong, silence made her heart ache. Captain, her officer said, breaking the silence. We're receiving the first wave of harmonic signals. All systems are aligning smoothly, Ilara nodded. Good, patch them through. She watched as lines of ships across the galaxy slowly matched rhythms. Oh, God. It was beautiful, like a song. Written in stars, she felt proud of what humanity had helped create, but inside, she still carried that quiet distance. Between her and Julian, that night after duty ended, Ilara walked alone through the lower decks. She passed the observation bay, where crew members looked out and whispered about the stars. She sat in a quiet corner, away from everyone, and opened her message screen again. Still no reply. She sighed. Maybe he had moved on. Maybe life had pulled them in different directions. Still, she whispered to the stars, I hope you're okay. The next morning, her console blinked. New message. From Julian, Arclight Systems, her heart jumped. She opened it quickly, hands shaking. Ilara, I saw your message days ago. I just didn't know what to say yet. It's been hard. So much to fix, so much to rebuild. But through it all, I kept thinking about you. Your voice kept me steady when everything else fell apart. I guess I just didn't want to write until I could say something that mattered. So here it is. I miss you too. And I don't want to lose this. Not now. If we can fix galaxies, maybe we can fix us too. Still here. Always. Julian Ilara smiled. A deep, quiet smile that warmed her chest. She read it again and again. Then she wrote back, to Julian Arclight Systems from Ilara Resolute Don Julian. I'm glad you waited, and I'm glad you answered. We don't have to rush. But let's promise one thing. No more drifting. We'll send signals, even when we're tired. We'll make time, even when space tries to pull us apart. That's what humans do. We'll hold on. Ilarashi pressed send and leaned back. The stars outside blinked softly, one by one. The last systems joined the harmonic weave. Ships moved again, not in tight, forced formation, but in gentle waves of cooperation. It wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. Ilara joined the crew for a ceremony on the upper deck. Everyone gathered under the dome as the ship passed over a newly lit Planet 1, saved from a failed orbit by a team of undue volunteers. As the lights danced over their heads, someone played soft music on an old Earth violin. Other species listened, quietly, eyes wide with wonder. It wasn't the sound that moved them, it was the feeling that even after a mistake as big as time, self-humanity had helped make things whole again. Ilara looked up at the stars and thought about every person who had reached out through silence. About Kale, Mira, Kieran, Soren, and now, her and Julian Ju, each of them had felt distant from someone they loved. Each had found a way back. Not through power, not through perfection, but through something simple, very human. Hope.